Hi guys, welcome back to the Life of a Doctor's Wife. Today's episode is one I think so many of you are going to connect with because we are talking about life in medicine during and after training. I am sitting down with Jasleen and we're talking all about marriage, motherhood, entrepreneurship, finances, the pressure of living in a high-cost area, and something I think a lot of couples can relate to, the seasons that test you. So let's get into it. Jasleen, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So can you take us back to the beginning? How did you and your husband meet, and what was life like before medicine became such a big part of your story?
Yeah, so we actually met, I would say, kind of later on his medical journey training. We met when he was in his chief year of residency. So he's an orthopedic surgeon, so he did residency for 5 years. And we were long distance. I'm originally from the Bay Area in California, and he's originally from Southern California. But during that time, I was in business school in St. Louis, Missouri. So I was in the Midwest, and he was in the West Coast. But I knew that I wanted to eventually come back to California. So we actually met online on a dating website. And I was mainly looking at talking to guys in California because I knew that it would just be easier for me to, meet someone who would also want to live in California. And it's like a South Asian dating website. So we actually kind of met through my parents on their website. My parents had put my profile on there, which I know is kind of unusual, but it's normal like in our culture. And so it's a long story, but anyways, the short story is that we met online.
I love that. I think some people almost wish that. Like my sister came out of PA school in COVID and she's like, I just need someone to just like set me up and like be done. Yes. She was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yes, I totally agree. Because I did do that. Like I did do the dating thing. I did the thing on my own, but in a way it was kind of better because whoever I talked to, they had already talked to my dad briefly before talking to me. And my dad's very chill, but I felt like if a guy is like down to talk to your father before you're talking to you, like, and then you kind of get to date him for as long as you want, like that guy's at least serious and like, is interested, like, more than just kind of whatever kind of guy.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. So you've been married almost 14 years, which is honestly incredible. What has been the biggest lesson marriage has taught you through all these seasons?
Oh, that's a good question. Biggest lesson, probably patience, which I don't have a lot of, but thankfully he does. So patience would probably be a good virtue to have on both sides.
So you mentioned that your husband is an orthopedic surgeon. What was the transition from medical school to surgery like for you?
So we met when he was almost done with training. So we met when he was in his last year of residency, like his 5th year of residency, when he was a chief. And so we only went through it during, his chief year, and then we were together during his fellowship. And then he, made that transition of moving, where we were going to kind of settle down. But it wasn't actually, the initial part wasn't too bad. I felt like I joke with him, I felt like I was a little misled because I initially never wanted to marry a doctor because I know that they work a lot. I know that's kind of their whole life. I know there's a lot of it's a different kind of lifestyle that I did not think I wanted to be part of. But, And so when he was done with residency, he moved to San Diego and that's kind of where we dated. And that was, I think, his first time where his fellowship the hours were pretty chill. So we actually had a lot of time to hang out. We would go out at night. We would go, do things on the weekend. We had a lot of fun times together. And I think compared to residency, I know it was crazy hours. It was nonstop work. And then even when he moved up to the Bay Area, he joined private practice and everything, it was slow at first because it's kind of you're getting established. So again, he had a lot of time and I had a lot of time. So we had a lot of time at the beginning. So it wasn't too bad. But then I think later on, as he got more established is when life, and we started having kids also, and I started my own business, like life got really, really crazy and the hours got crazy. And then that's kind of where I realized that it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But I do think that had we met during med school or earlier in residency, like we probably would not have been together because we would have been long distance. I had like my own career going on and my own like, grad school stuff going on. And he would not have had any time at all, like to even have a girlfriend or a relationship. So I know that I'm glad I met him when I met him and not earlier during med school. So kudos to all of you spouses like you that can have done that, which is very impressive.
Thank you. I know we come from a medical school. He went to Liberty University College of Osteopathic Medicine, and almost, I would say 70 to 80% of his class are married with kids.
Oh, wow.
Or at least have kids during medical school. And then I would say at least a good 90% is married, if not already married when they come in. So I feel like I said to him a lot too, like I feel like if we ended up at a different medical school, probably more in the Northeast, like where we were originally from, I probably would have struggled to find that sense of community because I feel like not many of them would be married or getting married at the time.
Yeah.
Where like I feel
Liberty, is Liberty in the South or where is Liberty?
Yeah, Lynchburg, Virginia.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So that's good. That's definitely helpful.
Yeah, so we definitely had like a sense of community and like we had that support from the spouses and the other fellow wives. So because we had so many more of those groups too, I started to feel like I at least had the support to know that like these feelings are real. These feelings like are what we're all going through or have gone through at some point. So you're not crazy or anything like that. Or like when they are really busy and they all had tests on Mondays in didactics. So you at least had your fellow like wife friends who were also just sitting there on a Saturday and were like, hey, you want to go apple picking and be my date? Because like both of our husbands were just home studying. So it really works out in that aspect. But
yeah, no, that's good. I understand what you're kind of saying because even when we did first got married, like I did kind of seek out other like medical spouses just because I felt like exactly what you're saying, like they can relate. Like when you're late, they're like coming home late at night because they're on call or they're like, we're at a birthday party and they have to leave in the middle of the birthday party and, so on. So it was more like, it was nice to eventually, it took a while, but I eventually found people that were also, medical spouses. And it was nice to be able to kind of relate and understand each other and kind of go through it together.
No, for sure. So there's an expectation that the doctor's spouse is just along for the ride. What do you wish people understood about the sacrifices that spouses make too?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, there's definitely this like, you're just like this doctor's wife and you're kind of just like living this like life of leisure, which I don't think is true. I think we put in a lot of work and time and effort behind the scenes. Yes, the payoff is great, but like, there's a lot of sacrifices that are made. Like you said, like I said, when they're on call, they're not really around. You can't really make plans together. You kind of like have to work independently of his schedule and do things with your kids like on their own or with other, friends or family. I think there's just, you're kind of solo parenting a lot, which sucks sometimes, but I guess it's not as glamorous as it seems from the outside.
No, for sure. Do you have any advice for me ahead of this Christmas? I think I am like a little nervous, but like I guess only having a 1.5-year-old, I keep trying to tell myself like she won't know what day Christmas actually is. So like if we celebrate on a different day when he's off, like and just tell her, hey, it's Christmas tomorrow or Santa's coming, like kind of thing. But like any other advice you have for that?
No, I think that's great. I think that's really smart because yeah, when they're little, they really don't know. And like, even with my husband, like he's always has to choose like, okay, is it going to be, which holidays can he be home for? Because they have to share all on like either Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year's or whatever it is. So yeah, we kind of do the same thing. Like there have been times when he wasn't around on Christmas Day, so we just celebrate. And the kids were older, but like we celebrated it when he was there. But yeah, other advice I would say, like, I think my biggest thing and I think you already seem like you have a good grasp of this, but like I had these expectations. Like I remember when we were newlyweds that I didn't understand this, like, oh, when he's on call, I can't wait around for him that we're going to hang out. Like I have to kind of just make my own plans, do my own thing, which I'm okay with. But I think I had this expectation that he might be around more. So I think it's like, have less expectations of your spouse and like just kind of do your own thing or your own thing with your family or your own kids or whoever, and not really have that expectation that they may or may not be there, which is kind of sad, but you get used to it.
No, I definitely need to listen to that more and listen to myself, because I think a lot of times I've talked about in this upcoming, like with residency starting and things, that like I'm going in with no expectations, so I can't be disappointed. But like if something gets done, then I'll be happy. Like I'll be like, wow, that actually got done. Like that's such a relief, or whatever it may be, or at least get time with him before Mia goes to bed one night or whatever it may be. But I don't know. Sometimes I do feel like already, like I'm looking at the calendar out and we already know his like call shifts all the way out until the end of the year. And I'm like, oh, it's technically a weekend off. And then I'm like, no, just kidding. It's not.
And that's another great thing that you guys already have done is like, each other or his schedule really well. Like it's on a shared, I don't know if it's on a Google Calendar or what, but like, I feel like that took us a while to, like I'm a calendar oriented, like scheduling kind of person. He's not. And his schedule used to be all over. I mean, still kind of all over the place. Like he didn't realize he was on call at 2 places this week until he was getting all these calls. So one other tip I would say is make sure you guys can like have some kind of way of putting your calendars together so you know when he's going to be around or not around, or like he'll even put on our calendar like the week before that what his approximate schedule is for next week. So for example, like it'll be on at like 7 a.m. and hopefully I'll be home around like 5-6 o'clock, right? So then I have an approximate idea, like is he going to be home for dinner or not? Because he doesn't really have a set schedule. But that took us a while to kind of establish that. So I would recommend getting that done early, like that system, whatever that system works for you.
Yeah. He's not very good with the calendar. I'm just like, fine, send me your schedule and I will put it in.
But, yeah. There you go.
Were there moments where you felt like you had to put your own dreams or identity on hold because of medicine? Or I guess I know you mentioned earlier about like having your own business, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned in this whole thing is that, especially as a woman, growing up in whatever this world, you think that you can, or we are told that we can have it all, right? We can have a great marriage. We can have like good mental health and like be able to have like a great body and exercise and look good. We can be amazing mothers. We can have like amazing careers, right? But in reality, I think there's always something that you have to sacrifice, and it might just be for a season. And I think that happens when you are married to medicine, especially, where sometimes his career does come first and I have to kind of, take a back seat. And sometimes he might, do the reverse. I think the intentions are good there, that like they want to be there, but sometimes they physically literally can't be there. So you have to either, work has to kind of take a pause so that someone can be more present with the kids, or, other things maybe have to kind of be put on hold or sacrificed in order to prioritize other things. When he was starting his career in private practice, I was starting my own company in long-term care. So I started an assisted living community from the ground up. And I also started along with that an in-home care business. And then eventually I grew and added on more assisted living communities. But then at the same time, we were also both busy with our jobs and careers. And we were also slowly having, kid after kid after. We had 3 kids, and I had 3 kids in the span of 4 years.
Wow.
So it was a lot. And our youngest actually had a lot of health issues when she was born. She pretty much I had to take a back seat I had to kind of step back from my business and be with her at home because she couldn't even be with a nanny. She needed somebody there to help her and kind of deal with all these health issues. And then the crazy thing is about right after her first birthday is when COVID hit. And the pandemic, obviously everything shut down, and I had 3 little kids between the ages of 1 and 5 years old, and I had this business that was dealing with the elderly and very sick elderly people. And then on the other hand, my husband was also on the healthcare side. So there was that around that time is kind of when I put a pause on things and had to take a back seat with the career stuff, just because it was too much to deal with. And so I guess, that's kind of a time when we had to see what was priority and how could we function right during that crazy pandemic time. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you did it. I luckily was in college at the time, and more power to you, because I think about days lately with my 1.5-year-old and wondering if COVID hit right now, what would I do with her? I think we would all go crazy. So
yeah,
more power to you.
Thank you.
How has motherhood changed the way you view your marriage?
It's hard. I think it's hard to do everything, but I think it's also shown me how amazing, your marriage also grows after you become a parent or a mother or a father. I think you see other sides of your spouse in a good way. I see how my husband is such an amazing father. Not only is he a great husband, but he's also an incredible father. But I think it can also be hard because he loves our kids, and obviously I love our kids. But sometimes I'm I want you to hang out with me too, because he has very limited time when he comes home from work. So he'll spend time with the kids, and then he'll spend time with me, and he barely gets any time for himself. But yeah, I think it's hard to kind of be able to spend quality time with and do everything with kids, and also be able to focus on your own partnership with each other.
No, for sure. I think we've felt that this past 1.5 years of almost prioritizing us at times, and especially with family not even nearby, because sometimes I think if my mom was just here or something, we could just dip out for a few hours or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But so do you feel like there was or is pressure to almost do it all? Be that supportive spouse, be the best mom that you can be that entrepreneur, and keep everything together?
I used to feel that way. There are still times when I feel I wish I could do it all, but I did a lot of soul searching when the kids were really little, and I, realized that something will get right, whether that's like I said earlier, whether that's your marriage or your mental health or your physical health or your being a mother or your career. You have to sacrifice something for a little while, and you cannot. There's this myth of being able to do it all. I don't think you can do it all the time. Maybe when we're older and the kids are older and things are a little bit easier and slower. But I feel that we're kind of in this phase where things are very chaotic and crazy, and it's a good chaos and crazy. But I think, you have to kind of be okay with putting certain things on hold for a little while, which is okay. But I wish I'd learned that a lot earlier than later.
No, I think it's always a good reminder, because even sometimes here, I sometimes be oh gosh, I gotta get a podcast out, or I gotta post this or do this or that. And then David's let's prioritize family first this second. And I'm like, you know what? You're exactly right. Like, if something doesn't get put out today, it doesn't get put out today. Like, and that's going to have to be okay. Like, I know with moving, I like skipped an entire week of podcasts, and I was like, I was totally going to put one out, but this is truly the life. Like, there's going to be times where it's just not going to happen. As much as I want to do it all, I can't. How did you and your husband make sure your kids still feel connected to both of you when life has become so demanding?
Yeah, I think we do a really good job of like, he does show up whenever he can, and he is a very present father. So when he is around, he'll like go and kick the ball around with the kids in the backyard, or he'll like, maybe teach them something, or like he's really good at playing with them. So I think he's not always there, but when he is there, he makes sure that he will be as present as he can. Or like when there's performances at school, he will like, he's not always there because sometimes, he's got a surgery or other things going on. But if he can, he'll always try his best to make it. So I think they're aware of that, and they know that, Dada will be there whenever he can. And I'm 99% of the time I am there. So like, at least there's usually at least one parent there. So I think they've gotten used to it, and they're okay with that.
Yeah. How has being married to a physician influenced the way that you think about healthcare and caring for others?
That's a good question. So I've always been in the healthcare realm because I worked actually in hospital administration, and I've been around like and I also work in like long-term care and healthcare. But I think, I've also kind of, I guess, seen the behind the scenes and behind the curtains of like what health, like how much sacrifice and how much doctors and how hard they work. And I've, also dealt with like insurance companies from like a provider side and also from a patient side. So I think it's interesting kind of like just, I guess, seeing both sides of things. But I think I've just gotten to know more about like what the different specialties are and like how much differentiation there is within medicine, which I wasn't as familiar with before I met my husband. I actually didn't even know what orthopedics was before I met him. I was like, orthodontics? I know that, but not orthopedics. So yeah. And now, obviously even within orthopedics, there's so much subspecialty. So yeah, I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of the specialties really well.
Yeah, I grew up around medicine. Like, I was the first person in my family to not go into medicine. And
oh, wow. That's amazing. So how did you not want to go into medicine, or did you?
No, I will run far away from any illness, sickness. My family used to always joke. Like, so my mom also worked in neurotrauma ICU too. And growing up, I felt like every time there was like a horrible accident on the highway, like both my parents would be going running to the accident, and my sister would be like behind them with a med bag or something, and I would be like in the back of the car, like dry heaving, like, get me out of here. No. I don't need to see this.
Oh my goodness. I'm surprised that you still decided to marry into medicine, like knowing what, you kind of grew up with that and all that. So
I joke with him. I'm like, I loved you very much when I stuck with it when you told me that you wanted to go to medical school, because but I think also part of me feels a sigh of relief, because now I know, like, if our kids like cut their head open or something, I can just be like, go to daddy. Like, this is not me.
That's true. That is true. And I think kind of like what you're saying too, like earlier, it does help having like a doctor in the family, or you have obviously multiple doctors where you can always ask them about something that's going on, even if it's not like related to their specialty. And like they'll give you like an actual like, medical opinion about it and see whether this is like something that's actually really scary or something to be worried about or not, right? Or if a kid gets hurt, like, you got like the dad's got their back. So it's all good.
Yeah, to a point though, because I was joking the other day because Mia had woken up from her nap, and since we've been in our new house, her room for some reason during the day, probably the way the sun is, whatever, we have been trying to put fans in there, but she has woken up like sweaty or hot. So we've been trying to like
Oh,
regulate that. Well, the other day she woke up and I took her temperature. It was like 102. And I was like, so
oh
I
my God.
texted my husband and he was like, she's probably just sweaty or hot from her nap. Just like give her 20 minutes. And I was like, honey,
Yeah.
no, like this kid is sick. Like, oh gosh. For someone listening to this podcast
Mhm.
who has like an idea or dream, who wants to be an entrepreneur but feels like they don't necessarily have the time, what advice would you have for them?
It depends. Like if you're like, yeah, if you're a doctor's spouse and say they're going through residency, you probably don't have the time to do it right now, and you might want to put a pause on it. But if you're like not in that kind of high pressure scenario, then I would say just kind of make it happen, whether it's in the evenings or on the weekends or in the mornings, because I feel like when you're just really passionate about something, you are able to kind of push ahead and put all your spare time into it. So yeah, you do what you got to do. Figure out that time, I guess.
After almost 14 years together, what are some things you know now about like marriage that you wish you knew earlier? Or, like any advice you have to someone on the earlier side of marriage or newlywed?
Yeah, don't marry a doctor. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, yeah. Kind of what I was saying earlier is like don't necessarily put your own stuff on hold if you can. Like, or don't be waiting around for him to do stuff. Just go ahead and do your thing and make your plans and make plans with your kids, and he'll be there when he's going to be there. But don't have these expectations of him or her. But yeah, I think that would probably be the biggest one. And then patience would, of course, be the other big one. Because there will also be a lot of times when like you may have to like change vacations and trips and other things that like there's a lot of sacrifice, I guess. And I think I knew that in theory, but I didn't know how hard it would be as it kind of went along. I mean, we live in an area where like a lot of people work remotely. And so people can travel and, take their work with them, or they can they have a lot of flexibility in their jobs where like my husband does not. And that can show up where, again, he might have to miss like a kid's concert or performance at school, or he might not be there for, again, like you were talking about like Christmas or other, special holidays or birthday parties or things that are family things. So, I think it's sometimes frustrating that you always have to go based on their schedule, and like, that's always the priority. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think patience and not having a lot of expectations are good things that I wish I'd known like very early on, that I had to work on for a long time to learn.
Yeah. When it comes to the kids, and like you mentioned, like not being able to make a concert or anything like that, have any of your kids shown like disappointment or frustration towards his job, and like how do you handle that? Like Mia doesn't really talk yet, but like when she becomes upset that like he's not there for a special moment or something, like how do you handle that?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I don't think like we've made it a big thing. So like I've never said, oh, Dada's not here, like I've never pointed it out. So like they don't really, I don't think I'm honest, that's a good question. We don't really talk to them about it. So I think because we don't make it a thing, they don't make it a big deal. But like, I think as long as there's always one of us there, and again, that's usually me, I think they've been okay with it. Like they've never complained that like, and even if they do bring it up and they'll say like, where's Dada? And I'll just be like, oh, he's at work. And that's it. Like they've never really gotten upset about it. So it's not really been an issue for them, thankfully.
Yeah. Now that like I think about it, like I think as the mom standpoint, it like almost makes me anxious or like wonder like, oh, what if she's upset about this or that? But then I think about my childhood, and my father traveled a ton for work and definitely missed concerts and things like that. And like thinking back, like I don't think I was ever really hurt that like he missed something. And I certainly don't hold it over his head now. I'd be like, I'm glad you didn't have to listen through that band concert or like whatever it was.
My kids are also very involved with sports. So they have a lot of like baseball and soccer and, different games on the weekends and sometimes even on weekday evenings. And it's really hard for like everyone to be there. And I'll even ask them, I'll say like, hey, sometimes neither of us can make it once in a blue moon. It's like if one kid is at one field, another kid's at another field across town, but one parent's at work and the other parent can only be at one game out of 3 kids, like we let them know and we kind of sometimes we'll take turns at like whose game we can be at. But like we always kind of check in with them and make sure that they're okay with that. So I think overall, like, and again, there's so many games. It's not like you can make it like, all like 50 games in a season.
Yeah. So it sounds like more just like open communication with the kids and really just trying to like not make a big deal of the minor moments, but still just trying to make sure, like check in, make sure they're okay, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Not having kind of what you were saying with Mia, like not having those expectations, or no, sorry, not make you as the spouse, not making it a big deal and saying, oh, like, yeah, Dada's not here for this event. That sucks, right? Like if you don't make it a big deal, they don't make it a big deal. So I think you set those expectations also.
No, I think that's great advice. Now, I know you mentioned that you are currently living in California, which is known to be a high cost area. Does the salary meet the area?
Not in our area. Like we joke that we're like, people are very, very, very like have a lot of money in this area. And we joke that like the doctors are kind of like the not so, wealthy people compared to like, say, like if you lived in Texas or somewhere, else where the kind of the money goes further. Because we live in an area where there's a lot of tech. And so kind of tech is huge here. And those are the people that are kind of making most of the money, I would say. And the medical people and other, we're all kind of like there as like supporting tech, I guess, or healthcare workers. And so sometimes I remember at the beginning, and this would actually probably maybe relate to you a little bit, like at the beginning of our careers, it did feel like, oh my God, we're working so hard and like it doesn't feel like our money's going very far in this area. And is it even worth buying a house here and settling down here and, putting roots down versus we could go to the Midwest or the South and like it would be a lot more, cost of living would be a lot less and the stress would be a lot less. But the thing is, at the end of the day, like we're both from California. And so I think we wanted to we wanted to stay here and we love it here. And it's definitely been difficult. And we've always had, like I was saying, talked about Charleston and other areas around the country. But, I'm glad that we're here and I'm glad that we were able to make it work. But yeah, there were definitely times that it was a struggle financially to be here.
Yeah, we honestly had talked about that a lot approaching residency. Living in Charleston now, it's not cheap, but at the same time, thinking about going back to Connecticut, where both of us are originally from, and doing a residency program there, staying there long term, we wouldn't be able to live in as big of a house as we're living in here. Like certain things there are not, the cost of living is outrageous, but it's nothing compared to California. But those were definitely things that we were trying to take into account when we were deciding on where to go, because we were like, even God forbid we do want to go back there as an attending, like we can, but we knew that we wanted to tackle his loans and some other things first. I think this may end up being our forever home because we love it so much, but that was definitely something that we kind of like took in to count, like when we were looking at residency programs and things. And that's really sad that the cost of living is so high there, yet the salary like doesn't match that. I want to take a quick break and let you guys know the best way to make some extra free cash. If you're anything like our family, you're constantly filling up the gas tank, grabbing groceries, or picking up dinner on a busy night. And with prices seeming to go up every week, I'm always looking for simple ways to save money without changing my routine. That's why I've been using the Upside app. Upside gives you cash back on everyday purchases like gas, groceries, and dining at participating locations near you. All you have to do is open the app, claim an offer, shop like you normally would, and earn cash back. You can even stack those savings on top of your existing credit card rewards and loyalty programs. As a busy wife, mom, and soon-to-be residency family, I love anything that helps stretch our budget a little further. Those small savings really do add up over time. Plus, cashing out is easy. You can transfer your earnings to your bank account, PayPal, or choose from a variety of gift cards like Amazon or Starbucks. If you'd like to try it for yourself, download the free Upside app and use my code Morgan45393. That's MORGAN 45393 when you sign up. New users can earn a referral bonus on their first qualifying purchase. Again, that's the free Upside app and use the code Morgan45393. Start earning cash back on purchases you're already making. Now let's get back to the episode. What is your favorite thing about being married to an orthopedic surgeon?
He looks hot in scrubs. You gotta find the happiness somewhere, right? After this, I wanted to also say that you're doing a great job. And I know it's not easy being like a young doctor's wife and having a toddler at home. And I'm sure like starting residency is like a whole other ballgame. But like, I want to let you know, I want to tell you that you are doing a great job. And like, and you're starting a podcast on the side, which is amazing. So you. That's a lot.
We're trying over here.
I wish I'd had this when I started. Right? Like, I think you're going to be able to help people I guess what I'm saying is like, I there were times when I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have like a podcast about like medicine and like talk about this. But like, I like your approach to it because it feels a little bit more lighter and happier.
No, thank you. I've really been trying to make this become more like positive and be like, everyone has their own story. Like, there are hard moments and we're here to share the hard moments, but like, you're not alone in those hard moments. More so than just like trying to be like down and negative. But I'm also not going to sit here and be like, being a doctor's wife is the best thing. Like, it's not. I think trying to find that happy medium and really like letting other people know, like the last spouse that I had on the podcast, they soaped twice.
Oh, wow.
So
that's rough.
Yeah. Some days when you feel like your day is really, really hard, or someone else's story and someone who still made it out on the other side of soap and like they're very happy and they have a kid and like it all ends up working out. So I think sharing those hard moments to kind of just encourage the other people that like you will see through this, even if you're in a state or a location that you don't want to be in right now.
Yeah. So I think that's such a great resource that you're putting out there because I don't think there is a lot of people in this space right now. And I think it would be helpful for like that younger generation kind of coming into it to learn more and kind of, the things that we wish we knew at the beginning that will help others now.
No, so thank you so much for being here. I think that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you so much, Jasleen, for being here to share your story. I think what I love most about this conversation is it shows the reality of building a life together. The career, the kids, the accomplishments, those things are absolutely beautiful, but the foundation is always marriage and choosing each other through every season. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being vulnerable with us today. And to everyone listening, remember, you're not just watching someone else's highlight reel. Every family has seasons they're working through behind the scenes. If this episode resonated with you, it would mean so much if you shared it with someone who might need to hear this. And as always, I'd love to hear from you, your experiences, your stories, or even things you wish you knew. So feel free to reach out or message me if you'd like to be on the podcast. You can find me on social media at Life of a DR Wife. And to those of you listening, thank you so much for being here and spending this time with us. We surely don't take that lightly. Until next time, take a breath, pour yourself a nice coffee, and be kind to yourself. I'll see you in